Hi guys, it's me, Pretzel. Kelly, that's me. How's it going, guys? So, I love movies, and there's some movies that I like or enjoy that a lot of people don't. So, this is the other side of the coin that I talked about last week, which is films that I generally like, or I tend to think that, like, my opinion on it is more positive than a lot of other people. So just like last time, there's some criteria for this one. It's about the same, which is generally just how do I feel relative to how most people feel. I went off of IMDb, Rotten Tomato audience score, not critic score, audience score. Although I did go off some critic score for some stuff. Um, and just general consensus, talking to people or reading stuff online. So there are some caveats here, just like last time. Uh, no, so bad it's good movies. So those are too easy. Um, the stuff like The Room, Birdemic, Troll 2, Battlefield Earth. Those are movies that I just decided not to put on the list because those are too easy, right? A movie that's bad and you recognize it's bad, but you get like some kind of other comment, like other kind of joy out of it, are still good. And there's tons, all those movies that I listed, I still enjoy. Um, but not from the full intent of the artist originally making it. Like Battlefield Earth, John Travolta didn't intend it to be hilarious and dumb, but it was. So, there are a couple on this list that probably fall into that category. But I will try my best to explain each and every one about why I like it. Although, admittedly, there is at least one on there. I can't tell you why I like it, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Also, similar to the first one, this is going to sound weird, but no franchise kind of movies, with one exception that I made. And that one exception is an entire film franchise. Um, and I'll try to explain why. But the big reason is, like, for example, like, I think I liked Last Jedi maybe a little more than most people did, but that's relative to other Star Wars. It relies on comparison to other Star Wars films, things like that. And honestly, for a lot of franchises, the worst one is not much worse than the rest of them. The worst, Marvel superhero movie is not much worse than like the average one. So I left off franchises in general. So I'm trying to do something different. It's not just a bunch of bad B movies that you throw on and you have a laugh at them because they're how bad they are. I'm trying to give like actual ones that I think I like, and that I like them in a way that maybe a lot of people don't like them. All right, so I hope you have a drink ready. I got one. This is Baltimore Blonde by Guinness, brewed in Baltimore. They just got a Guinness brewery here in Baltimore, and I'm just delaying moving on to number 10 because it's going to get pretty bad. You guys are not going to like some of these.
Selma Jezkova, do you have any last words?
Okay. It's already number 10 and I'm cheating a little by including two films. So the reason why is because, if you don't know, Antichrist and Dancer in the Dark are both by Lars von Trier, who is one of the most controversial film auteurs. And he's controversial because of, well, he might be a Nazi sympathizer. That's probably not true. He made some jokes and bad tastes about Adolf Hitler and stuff, but that's beyond the point. As far as this list is concerned, he's controversial because some people view him as basically having like a delusion of like a high art filmmaker without films to back it up, and sensationalism and just tastelessness and things like that, right? And there are some films of him I don't like. For example, House That Jack Built is terrible. I hated it. Absolutely hated it. because it was done much better as Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and that's pretty much the reason why. Um, but these are two films that I do like of his. Or I should say, I definitely like Dancer in the Dark, and I know a lot of people don't. They feel it's over-sensationalized, melodramatic. The musical numbers are weird. And I think this ultimately comes down to, do you like Bjork? So, I love Bjork. She's one of my favorite musicians, period. Absolutely, period. Love her to death. Saw her in concert once, too. One of the best concerts I've ever seen. She put her heart and soul into that concert. And the music in that film is done by both her and Tom York of Radiohead. And the songs aren't musical quality, but that's the point. The point is that it's about a woman who dreams within the realm of musicals, melodrama, happily ever afters, and stuff like that. And it's about the story of like the immigration experience and whatnot. So, it's I love Dancer in the Dark, and I recognize a lot of people don't, for the reasons I listed. Antichrist is one that I only watched it for the first time maybe a month or two ago. And there are some things in it I think are just insane. The most insane thing that a lot of people talk about is the talking fox.
Chaos reigns.
But I watched it and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I think that speaks highly of a film. I started thinking about like how Willem Dafoe's character plays off against like his wife. I forget who the actress is. I'm going to put the actress right here. There you go. And kind of like the battle between the rigid logical science and the chaotic nature mysticism and what that represents. It's not a film for everyone. And there's a reason why a lot of people hate this film. Hate it. But here's the interesting thing about Antichrist from what I read. I did some research on like different opinions from scholars, men and women, and there's not like a consistent thing. There's not a consistent demographic of people that dislike it. I saw female scholars and like women's studies that appreciated it, and I also found other ones that didn't. Males that liked it, males that didn't. You know, it all depended on perspective. So this is one where I might be kind of this might be an easy pick because it's such a polarizing and I hate saying this, it's either one of those you get it or you don't films, because I don't think that that's necessarily true. It's just it resonated with me, and I think that a lot of people, especially if it's your first time seeing such a graphic film like this, because it's not exploitative. I don't think it's exploitative. I think that everything's done purposefully. And the film wasn't made to get people in to see, you know, Willem Dafoe have his testicles crushed, which happens in the movie. Things like that. It also involves real, actual sex acts performed by porn stars, not Willem Dafoe and the actress. So, I would recommend Dancer in the Dark to pretty much anyone. But I can't recommend Antichrist to everyone. Read about it and see if it's something you're interested in. And judge for yourself. But I like both of these movies. The further I've gotten away from Antichrist, the more positively I've thought about it. Dancer in the Dark, I still think, is a fantastic movie.
I'm prepared. Please kill me. You just be my friend and show some mercy, please, and just kill me. Why did you kill him? He asked me to.
All right, number 9, which is probably one you don't expect from me.
Arendelle.
It's completely frozen.
Cold, 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 cold.
A real howler in July, yeah?
Yes, I like Frozen, okay? Deal with it. No, I'll talk about it. So I saw this in theater when it came out, and basically I read somewhere like that the synopsis, the thing that got me to see it was someone that I respected at the time claimed This was a return to Golden Age Disney. Or like second Golden Age Disney. Think like Little Mermaid, Lion King, things like that, right? And so I basically watched it as a challenge. Like, we'll see about that. We'll see about it. And this was way before, the song Let It Go was everywhere, before it became like every young girl's obsession kind of thing, right? This was just when it was new Disney movie, it's out. And I loved it. I saw it 3 times in theaters. And I think that the reason why is because like it did tickle that like revival of Disney part of my brain. It helped that the songs were catchy. It felt, at least my big one criticism is that there's not enough songs in the second half of the movie relative to the first half, because the first half is just incredible. Just the songs are great. The pacing is really good. The second half is kind of peters off, honestly. But what it makes up for in the second half is just the total subversion of Disney's own tropes. And that's what I think is really admirable about it. What they kind of started with Tangled when it came to subversion, I think that they really leaned into heavily with Frozen, and then capped it off with Moana. But I think Frozen is really, really good. Like, it's been a while since it's come out, and maybe people forget just how much of a subversion it is. That big twist. And I guess I could talk about it because, like, pretty much everyone's probably seen it. But the fact that the Prince Charming ends up being the villain, the fact that the true love's kiss, or whatever it is I forget. But the true love that will help Anna. I had to look it up. I completely forgot. Was a sibling love, a familial love, and not romantic love. That was interesting. There's good humor in it. Josh Gad's role as the snowman. The thing is, like, when it came out, you have to remember, the trailer for this made that snowman look so fucking annoying. And in the movie, he's charming, and he's kind of whimsical, and he's kind of just, a little on the silly side, but, like, well-intended and stuff. Like, it was fairly grounded. And I liked it, and I still like it, and I stand by this movie. And like I said, I think a lot of the hate that it gets is because it was just everywhere, and it was people getting tired of hearing it on the radio, or their children, or their nieces, or their cousins, or whoever. You know what I mean? But if you're able to withdraw from that echo chamber a bit, and just kind of watch it in isolation, it's really well made. Like I said, the only criticism I have is lack of musical numbers at the end, and the pacing is a little near the end. But I loved it. I still think it's great.
I can't feel my legs! I can't feel my legs! Those are my legs. Oh, hey, do me a favor, grab my butt. Oh, that feels better.
All right, I'm going to try to defend number 8.
I just want to apologize to Mike's mom and Josh's mom and my mom. I am so sorry, because it is my fault, because it was my project.
Yes, I like the Blair Witch Project. So I know it's been so fucking long since this movie came out. And I saw it in theaters. Even though I was not 17, my mom wanted to see it, so she took me, knowing I could probably handle it. And I'll touch on the context and the historical context. This was just as, like, internet was becoming a big, widespread thing. And, there was a good chunk of people that knew this wasn't real. But there were a lot that didn't realize this was not actual found footage. And this isn't the first found footage movie. There's so many of them before this. And there's ones that were more convincing as found footage movies. Cannibal Holocaust got the director in trouble. He had to have actors testify in court that they were actually alive and that he didn't get them killed. Guinea Pig, The Devil's Experiment. Martin Sheen saw it and thought that it was a real snuff film. Things like that, right? But I think that on its own, it's an effective horror movie, still. And it might come across as cheesy, it might come across as cheap, and that's because it is. It is cheap. But I still think it's good. I still think that it's effective. I still think that the minimalism works. There's not like sickening shaky cam like Cloverfield has and some other films like that. They were pretty much not scripted in this. They were camping in the woods as far as I remember. They were actually camping in the woods, not in Maryland. I forget where they filmed it. But they would wake up and be handed index cards, or they would have papers with their tent when they woke up, telling them basically what their kind of thing that they need to film that day is while they're in the woods. So it's interesting. That's the best I can say. And I know a lot of people don't like it, and you can probably name 3, 4, 5 other found footage horror movies that do it better. I think it just has a place in my heart. And I still think that it's effective. And at least within my mind, the historical context of it when it came out resonates still. If you have never seen it before and don't remember when it came out, so let's say you're 20, right? And you're thinking about watching it, it probably won't be as effective, honestly. Already it's not real and that it's not, real found footage or anything. But it's still, I don't know whether you would like it or not. I can't recommend this. So, even though it's on my list, even though I like it, I can't recommend it because I don't know if anyone else would like it, because I think that I still have like an emotional impact from when I first saw it and from the lead up to it. It is at the very least an important film, and I don't think anyone can deny that. It is an important film. And if you want to see it for no other reason than it is an important film, and you want to read about like what happened and how they made it and kind of the lead up to it, go for it. But if you want to watch a spooky horror movie that scares you and makes you poop your pants and has like a memorable monster and all this isn't it. So, conditional recommendation, I guess.
I'm so scared.
I will. Number 7. Yes, I like the Saw franchise. Okay, so I was actually going to put 2 franchises on here, the other one being Final Destination. But I realized when I was putting the list together, I don't really watch Final Destination after the first time that I saw them. But I have gone back and rewatched the Saw franchise a few times. So I will say that, like, this isn't to say they're all good. In fact, there's a lot of them I don't like. For example, Saw 3D was bad. Saw 3D was bad. Saw 4, I think, is it? Yeah, Saw 4. I'm looking at the plot summaries right now, just so I can remember. Jigsaw, I didn't mind. Saw 5, I did not like. 3, 4, and 2 were good. Saw 1, it set the groundwork. It's fine. So, here's the thing. Like, I know the acting's not great. Okay? But This is the film, you have to remember, that kind of, this and Hostel kind of created torture porn, right? It's basically a new form of an exploitation film in a lot of ways. And you go in knowing, like, okay, people are going to die, and I want to see how creatively they're going to die. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, like, going into it. I don't think that it's the end-all be-all of horror. And I think some of them do have interesting stories. Which one was it? Saw 6. I just had to look it up. Saw 6 is interesting because it came out, you have to remember, Saw 6 came out during a time. It came out in 2009, so this was 1 year into Obama's presidency, and new Democratic president, and we're talking about, like, healthcare reform and stuff like that. And the fact that this film tackles healthcare insurance as, like, a villain in this is, I didn't expect that from a 6 Saw movie, did you? So the story between Kramer and, like, all the other people is more interesting than I think a lot of people give it credit for. And I think it's shot well. It's scary. It's nerve-wracking. Of course, it's gory and stuff like that. But, like, as the series went along, it leaned more and more into torture porn. But at least in the early films when they came out, you kind of, like, still had that horror film mentality of, I want to see the protagonist escape, right? And then as the people went to it, like, knowing, okay, we're going to see some creative ways people get killed. And more often than not, the people are shit heads. And so it makes you ask, well, is Kramer the good guy or the bad guy? You know, things like that. And I know that that's all surface level. It's all superficial. I'm not saying this is a great series. I think I just like it more than most people. And I still go back and I watch it every now and then. So I skip the ones I don't like. I watch the ones I do like, the ones that are more memorable. And I don't know.
But I am still among you.
I don't even know if anyone's heard of this one, but I really like it.
Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Totally sucks.
Why do they not believe? I'm not ready into this. Now no one can conceive that I become the loving kiss.
Okay. Like I said, you might not have even heard of this movie. It's called Romeo and Juliet. It's a portmanteau of Troma, which is a film production company made famous by Lloyd Kaufman, who did Toxic Avenger, Frankenhooker, just schlock, absolute schlock. But he decided to make his own adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, and you know what? I like it. And the reason why is because I love Shakespearean films. One of my favorite films is going to be on the list that I come up with soon, which is 20 films that I love that you might not have heard of. I love, like, Shakespearean adaptations, everything, Kenneth Branagh and stuff, except one Shakespearean movie I really didn't like. Or I shouldn't say I didn't like. It's just I didn't. It's the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet. I'm not a big fan of Baz Luhrmann to begin with. Like, I don't think I like any of his films now that I think about it. Yeah, I don't think I like any of his movies. But my problem with Romeo and Juliet was it tries to really, it leans out. If you don't know, Romeo and Juliet by Baz Luhrmann uses the actual Shakespearean dialogue and stuff, but he tries to infuse it with a lot of modern stuff. So the swords are handguns, and they're named sword. Things like that, right? It's one of those films that feels really interesting and kind of edgy, but it's really not. This movie is edgy as fuck. This is basically, if you took Sid and Nancy and mixed it with Romeo and Juliet, that's what this is. And this film knows exactly what it is. It's comedy, it's slapstick, it doesn't try to be a high Shakespearean adaptation. It knows it's not. But it does some interesting things with the story. So the Capulets and the Montagues, the Capulets are called the Capulets. The Montagues are not called the Montagues, they're called the Qs, with the head of them called Monty Q. I know it's kind of, but anyways, they are adult film star studio rivals, and the daughter, you have Juliet, and then you have Romeo, and they still meet at the costume ball. They still do all this. The certain characters die that are supposed to, like Tybalt and all this. Whatever, right? But it does a very interesting thing at the end. You know that Romeo and Juliet are star-crossed lovers, right? That they're not meant to be, or that their fates are destined so that they're not supposed to be with each other, really, right? And this movie gives you a happy ending that's not like the Shakespearean play, but it's not really a happy ending. And I don't want to explain why, because it's very controversial, but I just like this film. It knows it's not being serious, and I can watch it without taking it seriously. But here's the thing. It's very transgressive. It is showing and talking about shit like incest and things like that, but it's doing it self-aware, and it's not trying to make social commentary or anything, but it's adding interesting twists onto the story. It's taking Romeo and Juliet and making it actually young and punk rock. Not like the Baz Luhrmann one, which just cast beautiful people and gave them guns instead of swords and shit. And that, as I said, this isn't to say I don't like Shakespearean adaptations. I love them. Give me a Kenneth Branagh film. I'll watch them. I love them. Give me your Julie Taymor adaptations. I'll watch them, and I love them. But it's such a relief to be able to watch this and just how dumb it is and how silly it is. Some interesting things you might not know. The narrator is played by Lemmy of Motorhead. Okay. And this was co-written by James Gunn, the man that wrote Guardian of the Galaxy. So if you want to see something that he started and wrote early into his career before he became big and famous, and then had issues because of past tweets and nothing I know about, and then now he's back in the limelight again. I actually can recommend this movie, as long as if you've seen exploitation films before,